Hey guys, Danny here with another YouTube video, trying to get on the YouTube grind. If you do appreciate these videos, go ahead and leave some feedback, comment, subscribe, all that. Building towards monetization still on YouTube. And today I'm going to quickly go over what I think are the three best heroes to start in each role, / the three best heroes currently in each role for MMR. So we'll start with carry. I'm gonna put in a bunch of options is basically how I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna trim the fat. So for carry currently, let's get Slark. Let's get Faceless Void. Let's get Luna. Let's get, I think Anti-Mage is pretty popular right now. And there's one more I'm forgetting about for sure. Oh yeah, Morphling. So of these 5 heroes, you can kind of pick 3 based on your playstyle. Troll is okay too. I would say that for the majority of people, you're going to have a much better time as a beginner carry playing something like Luna or Faceless Void. These other 3 heroes that are really good right now are kind of for people who played carry a while. Slark, Anti-Mage, and Morphling. I would say that Morphling is a lot more similar to playing like a Void or a Luna, kind of like you're a range carry, but you also have the option. It's like the only hero in Dota that can literally end it all. Like just press the wrong button and you're going to die. Slark, honestly, a pretty complicated play style, but very rewarding. Anti-Mage is kind of a classic Battlefield hero. So the 3 best for MMR right now, I would say, are Slark, Void, and Luna. However, you could replace Slark with Anti-Mage or Morphling or any of these. So for this list, we're just going to go with these 3. I think you can default to Luna or Void every game. Don't really think there's any heroes you're really worried about getting countered. Slark can be a little more nuanced. There's going to be some games where it's a really good Slark game, some games it's going to be a really hard Slark game. But yeah, those are definitely the 3 heroes I recommend. And again, for beginners, try to start with Luna. Luna is very easy. So moving on from carry to middle. Middle is going to be a lot more controversial. It's my main role. When it comes to mid, there's a lot of heroes kind of like the Morphling. I'm just going to add a bunch of the popular heroes or heroes I think are very good right now. And then we'll do the same thing where like I'll try to mention which ones are going to be absolutely best for your MMR, which ones are going to be a little bit better for beginners, and we'll trim the fat again. Then we'll put in a spicy Huskar. So as far as like best heroes in the patch for me in mid, I think Puck and Ember are by far the best ones you can pick to gain MMR. After that, it becomes a bit more preference. So if you are like an avid Puck and Ember player, playing Storm Spirit will feel probably pretty natural to you. If you've never played Invoker before, now is not a bad time to learn. The Quaswex build is honestly not that difficult. And you might have to watch someone play it once or twice. You don't have the regen and lane from Quas anymore. It used to be a lot more beginner friendly for laning. You just have to go swap when you're low, kind of. Pangolier, I absolutely do not recommend for beginners. I would say that Pango is a much stronger hero than Storm, but the better you are at Dota, the better Pango will feel. So, like, once you're 7, 8k, 9k MMR, Pango will definitely feel easier to win with than Storm a lot of the time. But if you're like 2, 3, 4k MMR, Storm will feel tremendous. Like, Pango's really hard to snowball with in lower MMR games if you're like of that MMR average. And then also, like, I like to mention this always when I'm talking about mid or tier lists or anything like that. Having one hero in your pool, kind of like a Huskar or like just a really hard lane counter, can go a long way. So like Huskar counters pretty much Storm, Pango, and Ember, and you're going to lane very well against Puck and Invoker regardless, even if they're ranged. So if you have that in your pool as well, that can help. But as far as like 3 best heroes for MMR right now, as mid, Puck, Ember, and Invoker by far. So for position 3, Position 3 has a lot of options as well. I think it's the easiest role to play currently as a core. Not because like the heroes or anything like that, just the play style feels very straightforward. You're going to pressure their carry, you're going to play aggressive on their side of the map a lot of the time. You have a stun or you have some sort of farming, like you're kind of like a carry that's stronger in lane, if that makes sense. Like if you play Doom, Mars, or Dragonite, you're not going to have these situations where like, oh, I'm Jug, but they picked Legion Commander, now my lane's so super hard. Every now and then, maybe someone will pick Ursa or Monkey King if you pick something pretty bad, but your spells on their own are strong. You don't need items to be that impactful, and every offlaner gets a billion items. So as far as best offlaners in the patch, candidates are like Doom, Mars, Dragonite, Timbersaw, Centaur, and there's probably a few more options, but a lot of the beefy strength boys are the best. If you wanted some cool, like off meta ish hero that is ranged, like if you want a ranged DPS offlaner in your pool, definitely throw in Winter Wyvern. Winter Wyvern offlane is very, very strong. It's just a little more situational. You kind of want to have a melee 4 with you a lot of the time. You don't want your mid to be like a slow hero. Like you wouldn't necessarily want to have like a Winter Wyvern offlane if you have Sniper mid or something like that. But as far as like 3 best heroes are actually, before I get too far into that, the best heroes I'd recommend for beginner offlane players are going to be Centaur, Doom, and Dragonite. Those 3 are by far going to give you the most mileage if you're just starting off as offlane. Both Doom and Centaur pretty much have identical item builds in the early game. You're just going to get your Veil, you're going to get your Blink, Shivas. It gets a little different after that. You know, Doom will probably buy a BKB, Centaur will just get Eternal Shroud. But the 3 best for MMR right now, and it's going to hurt to do this, I'm going to drag Centaur out because that's my favorite offlaner right now, are probably going to be Dragonite, Timbersaw, and Wyvern, and you can kind of pick Timbersaw if you can see who you're laning against more often. Like it's going to be kind of a more explosive hero where you're actually able to carry the game. The other 2 are more straightforward. Dragonite and Doom can definitely take over a game on their own. Dragonite's a bit later of a timing, but even just with Mage Slayer in the early game before you have your Manta Axe, you're just going to be really strong in Dragonite. Now we get to the supports, and for position 4, there's actually a lot of variety right now I've seen. So like as far as the popular ones go, Hoodwink is by far the best. Nature's Prophet is like 90% of the time picked or banned, I think, or something ridiculous at my games. Like either it's double picked or one team picked and the other team didn't, and it's just in the game, or it's like banned before the picks start. The best melee offlaner, melee 4 is probably just Tiny. But if we like add just a bunch of these pool before we start trimming the fat again, you'll notice that there's going to be a decent amount of overlap between 4 and 5 heroes as we get to 5 as well. And you just have so many options as a 4. We are going to narrow this down to the 3 best for MMR, and it's going to be quite easy to do that. So honestly, out of all of these heroes, I would probably recommend taking Tiny out first if you just want to play ranged 4s. Ranged 4s are incredibly strong right now. There isn't too much reason to pick like a melee 4. A lot of the offlaners like in our pool are melee, right? So Doom, Dragonite, Timber, the other heroes out in there like Centaur, they pair much better with ranged 4s. So the first one you can maybe get rid of if you're not like a specialist or you just don't have an interest in playing Tiny would be Tiny. There's some honorable mentions in here too, like Pugna and Batrider and stuff like that, or Spirit Breaker. But these are by far the most popular that I see. I think you definitely want to have Natures and Hoodwink, and we're going to throw in a 4th hero in this category because I don't know what it's like in the lower MMR games, but Natures is just always picked or banned. So like it's kind of like it almost doesn't exist, you know? Like it gets pretty much banned 90% of the time, so we'll just assume that it's kind of like that at the lower MMRs too. I don't know. I don't have experience down there. And then I think Lion and probably Venge are your 2 next best options. Now, if you are a very good Rubik player and not the ones that just pick Rubik if they don't get core, like if you played thousands or hundreds of Rubik games, Definitely throw in Rubik over Venge. Same thing with Techies. I think Techies is very strong, but you kind of want to have played it a bunch. I think that as far as Hoodwink, Nature's, Lion, and Venge go, you could just pick them up and play them. And they're like honestly about the same strength. So I always lean towards heroes that are easier and meta over the ones that are hard, unless you want to like commit to learning them. So yeah, I know that this is supposed to be 3 best heroes in each role, but again, because Nature's Prophet is so elusive, both the 4 and the 5 role are going to have Nature's Prophet as like an extra hero. He doesn't really count. So Venge makes a return in the position 5 section. I actually like Pugna 5 a lot. Treant Protector is always a strong choice. I'm a big fan of Crystal Maiden. Techies, again, like kind of similar thing to the position 4, like kind of only play it if you really want to. I think Hoodwink 5 is completely fine, but much better as a 4. It's also like extremely high contest rate, so just keep that in mind if you're looking to play it. If you are like, again, this is supposed to be 3 best heroes for MMR. There are some heroes that just like require an insane amount of experience on. Like I would put Chen in here for sure. I would put Io in here for sure. But as far as this list is concerned, I think these are a great starting point. Or like if you're asking yourself what are the 3 best heroes for MMR in a role, you're probably not the guy playing Io every game, right? So again, I think we can leave Nature's in here as like if it's in the pool, pick it, go ahead. You're going to be fine no matter what. Hoodwink, I would say we can just leave that as like a 4 hero. If you do want to just play it in both roles, perfectly fine. Venge, I would say, is almost stronger as a 5 than a 4, but both roles are super suitable. And Techies is definitely stronger as a 4. Again, just a bit situational. And out of these last 4 heroes, I think it's again kind of like the tiny thing. I would say that Treant is great in this hero pool. If you played Venge, Pugna, Treant, you're going to win a lot of games. If you just don't feel like playing a melee hero, there's plenty of support players that just want to play range heroes. Just throw Treant out, and this could be your top 3. But as far as I'm concerned, my top 3 before MMR would probably be Venge, Treant, and Crystal Maiden. So yeah, that about wraps up this 3 best heroes in each role for MMR. Let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback, and thanks again for watching, and please go ahead and subscribe.